so today's presentation is about the action research that I completed involving the College and Equipped Readiness tool that we use, or most of us teachers use here at Shelby County. So the reason that I decided to do this action research was because our district recently implemented a school-wide policy requiring all seniors to be college or career ready to graduate high school. And there are several ways to be college or career ready, but the quickest and the easiest way is to take the ACT. So if we looked at the data from last year, only 54% of students would have met this requirement to graduate. So that obviously shows us that there is a need to figure out what strategies and what programs are helping students to achieve these goals beyond just regular classroom instruction. So there are teachers who are integrating some test-taking strategies and some ACT-like questions into their instruction, but there hasn't been a huge increase in standardized test scores. So a lot of teachers are wondering if a more intensive preparation program might work, and that's kind of what this study is for. And I specifically looked at 9th grade students. So I started first by reviewing some of the literature on some of the programs, and surprisingly there's not a lot of literature or studies about standardized testing preparation programs. But I started out with just looking at perceptions because we all know that this is a highly debated subject, standardized testing, and its place in the classroom. So I found, of course, positive and negative sides to both. Of course, a lot of teachers think that it decreases morale and kind of discourages kids. But then there are also some studies that show that linking test scores to some real consequences motivates students and also helps teachers align instruction to the standards more closely. So there are positive and negative aspects of trying to prep students for these kind of tests. Again, I couldn't find a lot of hard quantitative evidence on standardized tests and their effectiveness or preparation programs. But most of the preparation programs have some kind of lesson about test, being familiar with the test, drilling and practicing, training and strategies, so test-taking strategies. And then this study, on average, students increased after taking a preparation program, but not by significant amounts. So we have students who had no preparation increased by 0.6 points. So you could assume that's just because they became more familiar with the test and they started to understand it a little better. Students who used workbooks increased by 0.8, and then students who had a preparation course designed to help them only increased by 0.6. So it's still kind of inconsistent, and there's not really consistent data for this. Same study, 30 high school juniors participated in a 10-hour preparation program, and their scores actually went up quite a bit. So again, very inconsistent, not a lot of for sure about these preparation programs and how they work. So I then saw this program called Aspire, and I chose this study because it is most closely related to the CERT program that I am studying. So basically it was the Princeton Review, and so they trained teachers to actually review, and it was a 10-week course. So they did practice tests, they went over test-taking strategies, they went over concepts. So it was a lot like what our kids are getting with this program, and in every subject, ACT scores improved, mostly by 3 points, but in English, it was an average of 5.4 points, which is important to us as English teachers. So I thought that this was interesting, that it closely aligned to what we're doing. And then, of course, there are a lot of teachers who think less intensive preparation is effective as well. So incorporating strategies within instruction that's in a more ethical way, a lot of teachers think. So this study showed, and again, it's not quantitative data, it's more what teachers are seeing and what teachers are noticing. So it's a little bit hard to compare this less intensive preparation with this more intensive test-taking strategies and practice. And this is just some of the comments that the teachers made. They found schools where students tend to perform above expectations. They were going over test-taking strategies every day in class. And then the last thing I looked at the literature review was who takes these courses or who is more likely to prepare. And of course, as I assumed, those students who are in a higher socioeconomic class are more likely to get that preparation that would in then turn raised their ACT scores. And there's my references. So that led me to my first research question, and we'll get to that second one here in a little while. So I was just wondering, how does intentional weekly use, so using this CERT program weekly, help the English and reading? I only looked at English and reading, not math, because I'm an English teacher and I don't care about math. So justification of my action research. I chose this for several reasons. One, that last slide of the literature review showed the amount of students who aren't exposed to a preparation program at all. And so this is a free program that all kids can use. So this was one justification for why I wanted to do this. Also, if you're going to individualize instruction for 29 students for the ACT, it's much easier to let a program do it for you than the teacher trying to gather up all these resources and pass them out to each individual kid. Also, if we use this weekly over time, when we make it part of our process every week, it prevents cramming of materials. And then, of course, some studies show that this more intensive preparation helps those scores. So there's the research question again. Here are my participants. It was my fourth period class. I had 24 students overall, 12 males, 12 females, 20 Caucasian students, 2 Hispanics, and 2 African American students. And then here are the instruments that I used to measure. So this is a screenshot of what the CERT program actually looks like if you go inside. So this is just the home screen. Each student has an individual account. It's linked to their pre-assessment score. So that first test they took, we plugged all those scores in. It tells what they are. And then it also shows the percentage of content reviewed. So every time they complete a question or they review a concept in that subject, it raises that percentage of content that was reviewed. A different tab on the same program is the study hall. And so the study hall shows commonly missed concepts. So in English, a student might miss a lot of commas, so they would watch a video and take notes on commas specifically. It also shows the percentage of that concept that you answer correctly or incorrectly, and it provides this instructional video to teach each concept. So that's the study hall app. So then you can go to the exam room, and it's very similar, but it breaks it down by question instead of concept. So this person missed question 23. It shows that it's a medium question. It has a video that they can watch and take notes on. And then this feature is really cool. You can, if you understand it, the kid thinks they understand it, they get it, they think they can get it right now. If they hit this check, it will show here how much getting that one question right would have raised their scores. And a lot of students are surprised to find that sometimes when they get 3 questions right, their score goes up 2 points. And that's all they needed to meet benchmark. So that's the exam room. And then the last instrument I used was this note-taking guide, just really simple. Each week they circle which subject they looked at. They put the question or concept, why they thought they missed it, and then notes on the video, so how they could improve next time. I use this because the program tracks how much review they do, but it's really easy to watch the videos and have the program show that you reviewed, but this allows me to really see that they're actively listening and they're engaged and they're really taking those notes. So basically what we did once a week for 70 minutes, 1 class period, the students completed the English and reading with a note-taking guide. So the students got to complete the English section twice and the reading once. The original study was supposed to be each of them twice, but with snow days we couldn't get there. The data will also be broken into 3 sections, so you're going to see in a second an analysis of the pre and post assessment reading, pre and post assessment English, and then I thought it would be interesting to look at how much they completed or reviewed compared to how much their score went up or down to see if the more they complete raised their scores or if the less they complete kind of kept their scores the same. So here's the data and what I found. I did want to point out again that students only completed the program 3 weeks, not the 4 weeks that they were originally supposed to do. And this post-test was taken electronically for the first time, which may have influenced results. So the pre-test was paper pencil, and I was not aware that the post-test was going to be electronic. So that may have influenced their scores a lot, taking it in that different way. But overall, English went from 19.4 to 18.7 average, reading 21.8 to 21.08, which together is about an average decrease of 0.7 points. Not significant, but not an increase. So if we break it down a little bit further, this is just reading. So this is the percent of students who showed no change, increase, and decrease. So we had 20% of students who did not change at all, 37% increase, and 41% decrease. And again, my thoughts, many students commented on the difficulty of reading from a screen, so that electronic version really kind of stumped them. And then also the reading passages had errors in the post-test, so they had to actually count the line numbers, which slowed them down a lot, which may have impacted the scores too. So if we break those reading scores down just a little bit more, this shows of those 33% of students who increased, 25 only increased by 1 or 2 points, 4% increased by 3 or 4, and 8% increased by 5 or more points. So we do have some students who increase significantly, but we have a huge number of students who only increase by 1 or 2. And then when you look at the students who decreased in reading, it's almost opposite. So it's almost opposite of what we would like to see. So 20% decreased by 3 or 4 points, where here only 4% increased. So that's a huge gap and a large amount of students decreasing by higher numbers. So that's what we found for reading. And then when we look at that exact same data for English, it's very similar. We had a few more students stay the same, a few more students decrease, and then a few less students increase. And again, this was completed online for the first time, and we didn't necessarily have the same problems as we did with reading and the line numbers. But again, that electronic version still might have stumped some of them as they were taking this English portion. So again, when we break down the data for the students who increased and the students who decreased, no student in the English section increased by more than 5. It was split half and half, half increased by 1 to 2, half by 3 to 4. And then this is more likely like what we want to see in our scores, so it's not as big of a gap as the reading scores. So we had 25% decrease by 1 to 2, 12% decrease by 3 to 4. Overall, based on this data, or this snapshot of the data, it doesn't look like the program did a whole lot of good for their scores, but we also have to consider again that the electronic version and the problems that we have with the test really probably influenced more than we think. So this snapshot of data is that third way that I wanted to analyze the data and look at how much they completed versus how much their scores increased or decreased. And this is actually interesting and is weird considering the large amount of students who showed a decrease before, but there is a positive correlation between how much of the program they completed versus how much their scores went up or down. So if the students completed 0 to 15% of the program, their score on average went down negative 4.4 points, so it went down. Again, this is a huge gap. 4 points is huge to go down. We have to consider again that they did it electronic way. 16 to 30% is about 0.5 students, or it went down by about 0.5 points. And then here is where we actually see students going up. So if they completed 31 to 49, they went up about 1 point. If they completed 50 to 70%, they went up about 2 points. And then we see almost the same thing in English. So this tells me, it's kind of confusing actually, because we do see students who are utilizing the program more are going up, but we also see a lot of students going down as well. And then the last thing is just very simple. This just breaks down the concepts in each area. So in reading, structure and facts were big concepts that students are mastering the least, and we as teachers might need to be implementing more in class. But students are performing really well in uncovering a purpose, making an inference, and those general approach questions, which I believe are things that we focus on in class a lot. So that says something about what we're doing in class and maybe what this program is not doing. In English, we see similar results. Possessive pronouns and shortest or being concise are the growth areas that our students are not mastering, but we do see a lot. This program seems to be helping them with those more simple concepts or the concepts with rules, like comments have very clear rules. And being concise doesn't necessarily have clear rules that they follow. So this is some of the content that we might need to go over with them. And so that's the basic data. We see a lot of decrease, but I'm not sure that we can say that that is because of this program with any certainty. So my question now is just next steps, where we might want to go next. And if you want to bring the camera closer so you can hear our discussion. But that's what we're going to talk about next, is just next steps. What can we do to make this study more efficient if we keep doing it, or what can we do to help our students? Just what are our next steps as a PLC? So what do you guys think?
I think it would be worthwhile to try the study again with the test formats being the same both times. So if it's paper and pencil for the pre-test, paper and pencil for the post-test, or if it's electronic both times, letting students be familiar with, okay, this is what it's going to look like with the pre-test.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And whenever I first did the study and I was looking at the results and I found out that it was going to be electronic, I was like, wow, this is really going to impact my results, because I mean it's got to be harder taking a paper pencil test and then doing everything online, especially with the problems that we have. So I think that's definitely a good next step. Try it again with consistent.
Are you going to use the last CERT test they took as your pre-test then? Is that going to be your baseline?
For the next time?